Hello, everyone. We're just getting started, so we'll give everybody a chance to get in. So we'll give them a few minutes. So welcome, everyone. And most importantly, happy Friday. So it looks like we have some more people coming in. I'll give them one more minute before we get started. So thank you for attending. Hopefully the weather is nice wherever you are. I know we've had kind of crazy weather lately. You know, we got dumped on in Minnesota for about, well, we probably had about 6-7 inches of snow, but far worse than some of the other areas. So hopefully you didn't get it too bad. I think, you know what, it is a minute after, almost 2 minutes after. I think we will get started because all of you are here. I'm Dr. Susan Hiedorn with Educate 360. And we are going to talk about navigating IIBA certifications in 2025. IIBA has a lot of certifications, and we're going to check them out and see where we can help you either gain interest or get your questions answered as you start your journey on these certifications. So with that said, I think we will get at it. Just an FYI, this meeting will be recorded, so you can get the information and the slides later. Also, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I will try and monitor it, those questions best I can, and try and get them answered before you leave in this session today. So welcome again. So let me just get started here. I want to make sure that everyone can see my session here, because sometimes I start talking and nothing's there. So welcome. Just an FYI, some little housekeeping things. Our next Q&A session around IIBA certifications will happen on May 16th. So if you have some colleagues or friends who are interested, have them stop by on May 16th. We will be covering all the same things. Educate 360 offers flexible training. You can either take classes virtually, which we do a lot of, or with the live instructor, or on-demand learning at your own pace. Also, most importantly, and this will be of interest to you as you look at certifications, Educate 360 offers a 30% off the exam and application fees, and offers a 1-year membership bundle to anyone who takes our classes. And so that is really kind of a nice offering. Even IIBA doesn't, once occasionally they offer some discounts, but they don't do the 30% off. So this is a special offering Educate 360 is doing. And so if you do sign up for a certification class, note when you sign up, you will have another option saying, hey, purchase the 30% bundle. And then, so it's really kind of 2 check marks, I guess, if you will, 2 selections. And then we'll give you a special code, so you get your 30% off your certification exam cost, which is really nice. Your application fees, which some of the certifications do have an application fee, and a 1-year membership. So if you already have your membership, this is what's really nice about this offer. They will take that 1-year membership and add 2-year membership. So let's say, hey, Susan, gee, I just got my membership 3 months ago. And now what? So they will just extend your membership. So that's kind of nice, a free year. So also just a little IIBA chat. If you haven't been to IIBA.org, check it out. They have some really great resources. They have templates. They do a survey of all BAs all over the world every year. So the survey results are always interesting. So they also have the all the certification information that you need. So they will point you in the right direction. I will do that too as we go through today, but I only have a short amount of time with you, and there's much more information on their site. So I'm going to encourage you to go there. Upcoming certification classes, in case you are interested, we have the CBAP CCBA on April 21st, 24th is the upcoming one, and then June and August. ECBA, which is our entry-level certification, in April 14th through the 16th, and in July. CBDA, which is the data analytics certification, and that is on June and October. We don't run that as often just because there's just not a lot of interest, but it's a really good class. And then we have self-paced classes on CBAP, CCBA, ECBA, and which we usually don't offer as a class, the Agile certification from a business analysis point of view, which is also a good certification. So some things for you to ponder here. We are going to go through all the certifications, and then I'm going to kind of ask you, as you look through the certifications, I'm going to be really interested in which ones you are going for, because that's always kind of nice to be able to take a look at. So CBAP is their largest, and it was their first actually certification, came out in 2006. And the target audience for CBAP is anyone who has over 5 years of BA experience, current CCBAs, seasoned BAs, BA consultants, trainers, etc. There is an eligibility criteria for CBAP and CCBA. Okay, so that means you have to have some work experience. So CBAP, you need 7,500 hours in the past 10 years. So it goes back 10 years. Minimum 904 of the knowledge areas. They break it up, the BA-BOC, into 4 knowledge areas. And you also have to have some credits, professional development credits, before you sit for the exam. And at least 35 hours in the last 4 years. And if you take our classes, we include that 35, so you don't even have to go anywhere else to get that professional development experience. Also, you have to provide 2 references, sign a code of conduct, and you have to pay for the application fee, because the application fee is where you're going to put all your work experience, your hours, your professional development. And so that's why they do charge a fee for that, because you have to load all that information up. So there is an application fee for both CCBA and CBAP at $145. Exam fee is $350 for members and $505 for non-members. That is why you want to get your 30% off bundle, because then once you become a member, it's only $350 versus $505. So it does save you some money. CCBA, they came out in 2011. That was the next one. They go, well, you know what? Some people don't have all the experience they need, but we still want them to get a certification. So this is for BAs that have 2 to 3 years of practical experience. Certainly current ECBAs, hybrids, consultants, trainers. Instead of 7,500 hours, you only need 3,750 over the past 7 years. So here's the key thing, and I know some of you may have your PMP or know people who have their PMP, their project management certification. Their PMI, Project Management Institute, does provide kind of a waiver on some of those hours, in the sense that if you have a degree, a college degree, they lessen those hours. For IIBA, they do not. So it doesn't matter if you have a college degree, a doctorate degree. I happen to have my doctorate degree. It doesn't matter. I still need 7,500 hours. So going back to CCBA, you only need 21 hours in the last 4 years. We have combined our CBAP and CCBA class, so you get over 21 credit hours. But again, you don't have to take another class to get that. And again, you have to have 2 references, code of conduct, $145. Exam fee is $250, a little bit cheaper. But again, you have to pay an extra $200 for a non-member. ECBA came out in 2016 and they said, you know what? Some people are just starting out. So maybe they went to graduate from high school, they graduated from college. A lot of people who are transitioning to the business analyst role, it's like maybe I was a developer or a QA, or maybe it was on the business side. And I want to know a little bit more about this. I was just promoted to be a business analyst. Now, what is it? And so this gives you really great knowledge and context around business analysis. It's also we get a lot of managers who say, hey, you know what? I have a group of BAs reporting to me. I don't know what they do. Please help. So that's the nice thing about ECBA, is that it gives people an understanding of what business analysis is all about. The other nice thing is that you don't need any eligibility. Anybody can come to the class and sit for the exam, so it makes it a lot easier. All of them, you have to sign a code of conduct. And you don't have an application fee because you have no eligibility requirements. When ECBA first came out, they did have eligibility requirements, but they said, no, that doesn't make sense. So they took those off, which is kind of nice. So it's a little bit cheaper. A nice thing, you don't have to pay the application fee, but it's $195 and $350. So you can kind of do the math. So when I was talking about, okay, this is the BA, we call it the IIBA-AAC. So it's the business analysis body of knowledge, has 4 KAs. Those are called knowledge areas. IIBA's business body of knowledge, let's just shorten it to that, has 6 knowledge areas. These are the knowledge areas in the groupings that you need to be able to understand. So think of these 6 knowledge areas as kind of buckets. And what they did is they said, you know what, business analysis do a lot. And now we got to figure out, okay, rather than just listing the multiple things, let's make it easier. So we're going to put them into knowledge areas. So we have a bucket, and that doesn't mean that this is sequential. Oftentimes you plan first, which is nice, but then you update the plan and you monitor the plan throughout the project, etc. And it depends on if you're agile or waterfall. They account for both, but the concepts are still there. You have to somewhat plan, no matter how it looks. It looks different in waterfall than agile, but you still have to plan. So we have this planning bucket, right? So that's one knowledge area. This is where you identify your stakeholders, engage with your stakeholders, determine your governance, who gets to decide what, how are you going to manage change, all of those things. It's what are all those things that I need to be concerned about. So then we have elicitation and collaboration, another bucket. And this bucket really includes 2 things. It includes elicitation, which we do all the time. If you're asking questions, you're eliciting information from people, right? And so this is prepping for elicitation, conducting elicitation. How do you do the follow-up? And then collaboration with your stakeholders. How do you need to collaborate? How do you need to identify them? Because if you don't get the right people, right stakeholders in the room, you're not going to get the right set of requirements, and you're going to be like, well, off on another ledge. So then the third wheel spoke, kind of the outer spoke, right? This is kind of the support, the planning, the elicitation, collaboration, requirements, life cycle. Management is we get requirements. As we elicit requirements, we capture them. There's 5 levels of requirements that you'll find out. There's business requirements, stakeholder requirements, functional and non-functional requirements, and transition requirements. And this is the care and feeding and loving of those requirements. Where are the requirements? How are we going to capture them? How are we going to document them? Does everybody have access? You document requirements through a user story in Agile, but you do it a little bit differently in Waterfall. So how do you do that? And then you have your inner core, your strategy analysis, which is kind of your pre-project work. What problem are we trying to solve? What opportunity are we trying to take advantage of? Building a business case, building a strategy, recommending solutions. Now, here's the interesting thing. When you first got started or are getting started in business analysis, oftentimes you work on the project. A project manager assigned, then they need a business analyst check, they need a QA person check, so they bring people when they need them. Strategy analysis is actually that pre-project work. And there might be somebody on the business side that's doing it, but somebody needs to do it. And because business analysis is a role, not necessarily title, it's included. Requirements analysis and design is where we take those requirements, we document them, we analyze them, we make sure they're written well, they're making sure that they're testable, because if you can't test a requirement, you're kind of screwed because you won't know if it's get there. So this and designing, doing business design, not technical design, so just gonna make a difference there. And then towards the end, doing solution evaluation. Did we get the value we thought we were going to get? And this, again, all of this can be done in an Agile environment as well as a waterfall environment. And so that is just to give you a really high level of the framework, but that's what's in the body of knowledge and how everything works towards that framework. So when they say you need 900 hours in 4 of them, for your 7,500 hours, then you have to say do it. So 4 of these groups need over 900 hours. And maybe solution evaluation, maybe you haven't done that very much, and so there's less hours, but that's okay because you'd have to have 900 and the other 5 to make up for that. So when you look back here and they say minimum 900 hours in 4 of them, or minimum 900 in 2, or 504 of them. Depends on how you want to partition them up. This is the knowledge areas that they're talking about. Okay, so beyond CBAP, CCBA, which is the next level, and ECBA being that entry level, they have specialty certifications. Not that they have. So the first one that came out in 2018 was the Agile Analysis Certification. This is for business analysts who practice in an Agile environment, who want to augment, say, now I'm a business analyst and now I kind of want to gear, I work on more Agile projects, so I kind of like my Agile Analysis Certification. Rather than the BA-BOC, it has a guidebook also, but it's called the Agile Extension Guide. You don't need eligibility for any of these certifications, which is great. You do have to sign a code of conduct saying you're going to be a good business analyst. There's no application fees on any of these because you have no eligibility to capture. There is an exam fee. And the nice thing they did a couple of years ago, because there used to be the fees were all over the place. This one was this much, this one was not much. Now they just said, you know what, they're all $250 and $400, Again, $250 being a member, $400 being a non-member. So they added in 2019 certification in business data analytics. So maybe some of you are into the data space. Maybe you're working with a data scientist. Maybe you're working on any type of data projects. And so this kind of brings forth all the effort you need to play in that arena. What are some of the different pieces of data, and how would you model this and things like that? How would you model the data? What does the data really telling you? And so understanding that whole piece. And so they have a guidebook of Guide to Data Analytics. So, and then they added one in 2020, cybersecurity. And this is anyone who's in cybersecurity and wants to learn a little bit more about how business analysts can play in cybersecurity, how we can support that effort, what are some tools and things. And IIBA actually has modules, learning modules that you can also use. And then their last one is certificate in product ownership. So a lot of times business analysts, you probably know this, either support the product owner in an agile environment, or they are the product owner in an agile environment because they can't find enough people. So, or you want to become a product owner. So again, they have a guidebook, Guide to Product Ownership Analysis, no eligibility references, same thing. So that is all the specialty certifications plus the basic CBAP, CCBA, and ECBA. So now I'm curious, we have 22 people on board, so that's great. I want you to throw in the chat if you would for me. I'm just curious of what certifications you're looking for. And so if you could do that, that would be awesome. I'm just kind of curious where I should spend my time, you know, if everybody's in the specialty certifications or if we're kind of all around. So just take it in your chat saying, you know, just ECBA or CBAP or CCBA. Just kind of want to know where you are coming from today. What are you wanting to know? So that I can help focus this session to what you need. And hopefully I have your, I don't see anything coming through though. That is weird. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do it simpler. Let's do a poll. I'm going to launch the poll and that will also tell me. So just fill in the poll because I don't seem to get my chat working. So we'll play a different game. We're going to do a poll. So one way or another, I'll get the information. So I'll wait till everybody gets in. So again, it just in case you didn't find the poll, it might be covered somewhere. And I don't know why my chat is not working, but all right, I think getting everyone done. Give you 2 more minutes. Everyone got 58. I think there's a few others that's interesting results. So CBAP is, let me just end the poll here and share the results. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So CBAP, and 4 people, CCBA, ECBA, ooh, AAC, very cool, and CBDA 36. I didn't have, they can only let you ask so many questions, and the reasons I selected these are the classes that we offer. But some of you might have been interested in product ownership as well as the cybersecurity. We'll still talk to them. We just don't have a class on it. So thank you very much for doing that and participating. Appreciate that. Just to kind of, so we're kind of all over the board. So I'm going to address a little bit of everything. Okay, exams. When you get certified, you do need to take an exam and pass. Sorry to say, I wish it was easier. So CBAP and CCBA, again, you have to have eligibility for these, is a little bit harder and it has a lot more questions. So CBAP has actually a case study. They'll put a case study, it's maybe 3-4 paragraphs long. And then from each case study, they'll give you a situation and kind of some information. And then they'll ask you 3 or 4 scenario questions following that have to do with the case study. So you have to read the case study, then read the question, answer the question, then you go to the next one. So there might be 2, 3, 4 scenario questions for each one. Also in between, they have like 4 case studies, maybe 5, and then they weave just regular scenario questions. Scenario questions, I mean by you are a business analyst and you're wanting to get requirements from a stakeholder, but you're not sure you really understand the stakeholder and what they're saying. So what other methods or techniques might you use? You know, so they put you in a situation as a business analyst, and then you say, okay, what do I do? What technique do I use? Or what do I need to respond? So there is 120 questions in CBAP, but you do get 3.5 hours, which is nice because reading the case studies are sometimes time consuming too, and before you even get to the question, okay? Where CCBA is scenario based, it doesn't have that case study, so you don't need to, but it's still situational based. You know, you are a BA and here's what's going on. What would you do first, or what would you do last, or what would you suggest, or what would you recommend, or whatever. Gives you that situation. And so there's 130, but you get a half hour less because the thing is you don't need time to read the case study. And so that's kind of their thinking. Now, all the rest of the exams are a lot shorter and there is no eligibility. So ECBA is very knowledge based. You know, it's like, do you know these terms? Do you understand these terms? And do you understand the techniques? So there's 50 questions, you get an hour. So it's rather short. And generally, you know, in CBAP and CCBA, it might take you commonly 2 to 3 hours to study. In ECBA and all the specialties, maybe a week. So then AAC, this is knowledge based, a little bit different. Now, just to let you know, and I know some people were looking at ECBA, I'm just going to give you a heads up tip that they're thinking this fall of changing the exam to make it more scenario based. Right now it's more knowledge based, basically definitional and understanding the concepts. So in this case, you might want to take it before fall. It's giving you a tip. So right now it's 50 questions, 1 hour. AAC is scenario-based questions, so is CBDA. So it's like, you know, you're being a data analyst or you're on an agile team, what would you do? So it's putting you in the role and asking you what do you think you should do? And they're all, the nice thing is they're multiple choice questions. You get 4, A, B, C, or D. So I figured this way, A, B, C, or D, I got 25% chance of getting 1 right, even if I had to guess. And if I can narrow it down to 2, it's gone to 50%. So that's pretty cool. So AAC has 85 questions. You have 2 hours to do that. CBDA has 75. You get 2 hours to do that. CCA, that's the cybersecurity one, has more. Again, the last 2 have more knowledge-based questions and context. And there's still multiple choice. They're all multiple choice. So you got 75 to do 90 minutes. Of course, nice thing is they're not scenario. You can just say, what is this? Or this is a definition of what. And the same thing with the CPOA. It has multiple choice, very knowledge. So there's right now ECBA, CCA, and CPOA are knowledge-based questions with, again, multiple choice. This will be changing in the fall, as far as I have recently understood. So now, you probably all know when organizations say they're going to make a change, sometimes it's longer than they think. So they say fall, but maybe it's next year because, you know, it's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work. So, but just keep cognizant of that. So just to give heads up to ECBA, CCBA, and CBAP students, so the guidebooks is what you're going to use to study for the exams, for the specialties. And they're not that big, they're not that long, pretty short. ECBA, CCBA, and CBAP are based on the BA-BOK, the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge. And that is sort of rather thick, very, very dense. If you want something to put you to sleep every night, it's good reading material. Fabulous things in it, very important things, but very dry. It's not like reading a mystery or anything. So what they've done is say, okay, what percentage of questions come from each knowledge area that we had gone through? And these are chapters in the box. So if you see 1.1, that's chapter 1. If you see, this is chapter 2, this is chapter 9, chapter 10, etc. So ECBA incorporates some of the context, some of the information that is in chapter 1, which just talks about what is business analysis. Maybe you have a question on what is the definition of business analysis, right? Or the BA profession. And then, so there's one question there, and it's probably the definition of business analysis. Key concepts, 2 to 3 questions. So it might be concepts about the requirements. There's some other key concepts in there that weave throughout, so you'll need to know that. Underlying competencies are there, and techniques. And sad to say, I have to tell you that techniques are in chapter 10. There are 50, count them, 50 techniques. And that is only the 50 individual listings, because some techniques have 2 or more techniques in that group. So there's more than 50. There's probably, when you get all done, over 60. But they have 8 or 9 questions on it. And it's usually going to be, what is it called if you watch someone do their work? Well, that would probably be, something like shadowing, or they call it observation. So those are some of the things. And then, of course, these are the 6 knowledge areas I was talking about before, chapter 3, chapter 4. And then it gives each percentage here. And the thing that I'm not going to go through each one, just a note, ECBA used to have strategy analysis and solution evaluation. Now they took it off because most beginning business analysts don't do pre-project or after project work, but I think it was a detriment. And actually, when I was talking to them, we're a knowledge provider of theirs, so we're a good partner. They're thinking about bringing them back in. So if you don't want to study that, good time to take the test before. Anyway, so then this, if you look, we said we had 130 questions, 120 questions CCBA, and this is how they divided it out: 15 in business analysis, 42 in requirements analysis and design. Now, here's the thing I want you to be careful of, because this actually came from IIBA, and people get confused about this. CCBA and CBAP include the elements that are in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 9, chapter 10, but what they did, because it's more scenario-based and case study-based, they blended them together in those knowledge area questions. So 42, these 42 and 36, you can bet, because there's a lot of techniques used in that, you can bet there's techniques used there. There's going to be technique questions. Questions about here's the situation, what technique would you use? What would be best to be used? What would you not want to use? Whatever it is. So this is what happens sometimes, because I know I have students, when I've taught these certification classes, they'd taken the test and unfortunately did not pass. And they said, well, they've said there wasn't going to be any questions on techniques or underlying competencies, which is true directly, but what they did is they took underlying competencies and techniques and weaved them into the other knowledge area questions. So it doesn't look like there's questions on those 2 areas, because they said, I didn't study them, because I only studied, the 6 knowledge areas. Well, that would be a huge mistake. You want to study everything. Peruse through chapters 1 and 2. So competencies, I'd probably just review at a high level, because it's not rocket science. If you've been a business analyst, not rocket science. But techniques, there's a lot of them. So know that really, really well. How do you read one? They'll give you models to read. So like a data model. Okay, so here's a data model, and the last 3-4 questions around that data model. And if you don't know how to read it, you're going to get 3-4 questions wrong. So just even though they say NA here, they really just kind of sneakily put it into everything else. So application steps, again, CBAP and CCBA are the only ones that you need an application. So I would, because they change from that time and time, you know, here and there, download and review the IIBA certification handbook. Go to IIBA.org, right there. Get the latest and greatest in case they changed anything. Every once in a while they do, and they don't always let us know. Put in your professional development hours, your work history, your 2 references. Now here's the key thing about references. They have to have known you for 6 months. I know sometimes I'll teach a CBAP class and they go, well, can you, be a reference? And I would love to be a reference. I'd love to be a reference for everyone, but I haven't known you for 6 months. So it has to be someone who knows you. So it's either another CCBA or CBAP, a career manager, or a client. I did a lot of consulting. I'd have to get my clients to be my references. And then of course your work history, then I would document it. We do have a template that helps, an Excel template. But what happens is that when you start putting in the information, let's say you're interrupted, the kids come in, your boss comes in, whatever, somebody comes in, talks to you, or somebody rings, or a meeting comes up, whatever. We get interrupted a lot. What I'm saying that until you pay that application fee, you can't go back and look what you put in. So if it was a week later going, what projects did I put in? Oh my gosh. And if it's duplicate, you're going to get a red flag and be probably audited. So write them down first, using the terms as much as possible in the BA box, and then put them in, because then just make sure you have everything that you need. It works easier so you don't get a headache over it. You pay for the application, log in your details, agree to the code of conduct in terms and conditions that you'll be a good business analyst, submit your application, and you will get a note really quickly, actually, whether you have been approved or you're going to be audited. It really is fast. Sometimes it's the same day. So if you're approved pending an audit, so that's like going to when you travel, right? If any of you have gone through TSA. And so, some people go merrily, oh, you get to go in that line and get a pat down. Okay. And other people merrily, you got to go in this line. Your number just came up. So if you get audited, don't panic. It might be you did nothing wrong. It might be they have a question, and then you have to prove your hours. But it might not have been anything, and your number was up. I've been audited when I've done my recertification. My number was just up. So then they'll tell you. I mean, the nice thing is they'll give you time. They'll tell you everything that you need to show proof. And it's pretty painless, but just know it's there. Okay. Registering. Now, I said all the rest, you just register for the exam. CBAP and CCBA, you have to have your application approved first. Have to have it approved first before you can register for the exam, because otherwise it's not going to let you. So review the exam rules and system requirements, because that's very helpful. Pay the exam fees, schedule it. Schedule the exam, and then take the exam and get certified. Note that CBAP and CCBA are the only ones that can be at a PSI testing center in person. All the ECBA and all the specialties, because they're just short exams, are online, virtual. You will have a proctor. They will be watching you. You have to make sure that your system is able to do that. So if any of you are attached to the company system or company VPN, they sometimes don't let all the proctoring data and the exam data go through. So you might have to just kind of watch that. So, but they will tell you. So you can, once you get started, they'll redirect you to the PSI page to schedule the exam, and then PSI will also give you a lot of information on what are the system requirements, what do you need to be able to do. So the nice thing is, once you apply, you have a year from that approval date, not the application date, but the approval date, to take the exam. Because I know sometimes you think best circumstances. And then you sit there and go, oh yeah, I'm going to take the exam. Life happens to all of us. And then I've had students come in saying, oh, I only got, a couple weeks to study for the exam, or I'm running out of time. What do I need to do? So just, kind of, if you can, we suggest in the first 2 to 3 months when you start studying, so it's all fresh, or if you take a class. But we also know life happens, so, but you do get a year before you have to reapply. Registering for the ECBA or specialty exams, that's easy. You can review the handbook, but you pay for the exam, the code of conduct. You study, usually we suggest 1 to 2 weeks of studying max. And then you take the exam, and then you get certified, yay! Okay, so exam prep tips. So for those of you taking CBAP and CCBA, again, it's a heavier lift, longer, exam. Read the BA-BOK at least twice. We have other study elements. You can take a prep class. It can be with us or somebody else. Certification study guide, study tables. You can buy our flashcards. You can make your own flashcards. Doesn't matter. And then we also have online practice exam questions, which you get with the class. So study well. We have, because we've been doing this since these certifications have come out. So average, our students are saying average 2 to 3 months, 100 hours of study time. Study 1 chapter at a time. Use your practice questions. Hey, did I know it? Do I get it? And then when you feel comfortable, take your exam. ECBA and specialty, you don't need to study that long. It's not 2 to 3 months, 1 to 2 weeks, 20 hours maybe. Read the corresponding guidebook though, and some of them will refer to the BA-BOK, so you might want to get that too. The nice thing when you are a member, you just download them for free, which is nice, and you don't have to pay for them. Supplement your study with Watermark aids, so go to watermarklearning.com, or you can make your own, that's fine too. And after you take your practice, particularly the drill questions, if you get more than 70% right, that's pretty good. And then you're probably ready for the exam. So another little bit more testing tips. Don't dwell on any question. I have a lot of certifications around my name, and I still get nervous. The thing that I have found is that you can't dwell on any questions. You can mark them, so you can flag them, right? It's like, oh gosh, is it B or C, B or C, B or C? I got it down to 2, but I don't, B or C, I'm not sure. C, okay, and then I'll go, okay, I'm not sure, I'm gonna flag that. So if I have time, when I get done, I can go back and look at it and say, oh, Susan, what were you thinking, B? But if I'm still not sure, I'm going to keep C, because oftentimes our gut is correct. Our intuition is correct. So don't change a right answer wrong. There are proponents who say just skip the question, look at it later. I at least like to read through it, put my initial, because what happens when I run out of time? If I don't mark anything, it's wrong. It is wrong. But if I mark 1, I've got at least a 25% chance of getting it right. And if I narrow it down to 2, I got a 50% chance. So I do like to mark them because I might want to review them. But if I don't get time, I still have something marked. Don't second guess yourself. If you can get it to 2 viable options, that's great. Guess if you must, just answer something. Don't change your answers, because sometimes we overread things. One of the things that, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then watch the time. So it's like, okay, you've got 50 questions, and you had 2 hours to do it, and it's 1 hour and 15 minutes, and you're only on number 26. It's like, well, you're going to have to go a little faster, or vice versa. It's an hour in, and you've got almost half of them answered, or more than half, 3/4 answered. You're probably fine. But just kind of watch the time. So for ECBA, and CPOA, again, those are knowledge-based questions. Read the question carefully, because this is what, and I do a lot of practice questions with students. Sometimes we're so into, oh, yep, got it, and we look at the answers and then we don't have it because we didn't answer what they were really asking. Because sometimes they put a little fluff and stuff in those questions, and it's like, oh, okay. So I read the question, I read all the answers, because it's like kind of looking at the answers kind of helps you figure out what are they asking, and then I'll go back and read the questions. Like, okay, what are they really asking? What are the important things, and what are just the things that are just superficial and really are not needed. And so that's kind of the key for CBAP, AAC, and CBDA, which are scenario based. You read the scenario, read all the questions, and then again review what are the, because the scenario questions can be a number of sentences long. It's like, okay, what are they really asking? They talk about this, but is that what they're asking? And then I look at the list of answers and I'm going, oh no, I think it's so I'll answer according to that. For CBAP, that's that, I'm sorry to say, case study. So you got to read the case. So what I do is I skim the case study, then I thoroughly read the question on this, because each case study has like 3-4 questions after it. And so I'll read the question, I'll read all the answers, read the question again. And if I need to, and only if I need to, do I go back to the case study and then skim it again to see if I need the answer. But otherwise, oftentimes I'll just skim it for context and then really focus on the questions. And again, they're multiple choice. So study materials we have, again, you can make your own. For CBAP and CCBA, we do have a study guide. The study guide takes all the dry material that's in the BA box, very good material, but very dry. And it makes it alive, right? It gives you examples. It gives you, there's some practice, puzzles and things in there. It just makes it alive. It's like, the body of knowledge becomes alive because it's like, oh yeah, now I get it, and you can apply it to something. Study tables, my favorite, because it gives us a big picture. I'm a big picture person. I like how they connect together, because they do. They're buckets, but they still connect together. And so you need to know and understand for the exam how they connect together. And so study tables gives you a great big overview of how they do connect. Flashcards, again, you can make your own or you can purchase ours. And each class comes with an online study exam question. So you go online and take your practice exams. ECBA, there's a how to talk BA study tables again, flashcards and online questions. And the same thing with AAC, we have flashcard study tables, online questions. For CBDA, was a little different. We have certainly study questions. So once you are, and congratulations, you made it through, you passed your exam, and now you have to recertify, because you really don't want to take that exam again. So CBAP and CCBA, you need 60 credits. They call them continuing development units. 60 of those every 3 years. And what counts is you usually get, for every credit, you get an hour. So like maybe I listen to a webinar, I'd get 1 CDU. Or if I teach a class, I might get more credits, or if I volunteer, but you can't get them all in the same group. So there is, I would encourage you to, once you're certified, download the recertification instructions, because there's like 6 different areas that can count, and some you can only get so many in. Otherwise they don't stop counting. I mean, it's just kind of all over. So I usually, because I don't want 60 CDUs standing over my head when I need to get recertified, 2 weeks before, it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get 60, how am I gonna do that in 2 weeks? For those of us who procrastinate. So I try and do 20 every year, just to kind of portion it out. So I'm not like, waiting until the last end. AAC and CBDA need 20 every year. And I'm sorry to say it's kind of a pain to go in and put them in every year, but I do CBAP and CCBA at the same time. Now, here's the nice thing though. You can use your units for more than one thing. So let's say I sat through a data analytics webinar. So I get 1 CDU. Well, part of the data analytics webinar was on data analytics, but it was also on some techniques and tools that are in CBAP. So you can do a twofer or even a threefer. If it applies, it's just a drag and drop for all the knowledge areas or the domains. Specialty ones have domains instead of knowledge areas, but so it's nice. So I can go to one webinar, but I might get, points for CBAP, AAC, and CBDA. And for ECBA, CCA, and CPOA, there's no recertification credits. Once you are, you are. Yay! So that's always good. I wish they had that for everything, but not. So just some really fun stuff that you are not alone in your certification journey, right? So we got the core certifications. And as of February, there was it's getting close to 15,000 ECBAs. Look at the difference. December 31st, 2020. That was 5 years ago, less than 5 years ago. We were only at maybe 5. Now look at it, it's tripled. So that's really great to see. So if you're in that, you are not going to be alone. CCBA, not a big mover, I'm sorry to say. Even, it's gone up, 1,200, but it's taken almost 5 years to do that, 4 years. Big movement though in CBAP, 14 to 222,000. So that's really, really nice, actually getting to the point of almost being doubled. The other thing to note, which I forgot to mention earlier, you do not need to get your ECBA, then CCBA, and CBAP. You don't have to have them all. You could do your ECBA and then get your 7,500 hours and then go for CBAP. Or you can do all three if you want. There's no stopping you if you're really excited about taking exams. But take the one that you meet the highest need for. Okay, and specialty. This is really where it's growing. AAC has grown. I mean, it was only not even 1,000, and now it's 2,500. Big boost lately in CBDA. Just slow start, but now it's catching up. Kind of consistent in cybersecurity. And then product ownership wasn't even around in 2020, but it's up to almost over 1,000 now. So. You can see how it grows. And some fun things, this is from their surveys that they do every year. What are the benefits of certification? Higher confidence at work, upskilling to help me find the job, salary increase, improved performance, promotions. That's always nice. And they said anybody who holds a CBAP earns 20% more than non-certified BAs. Don't know if that's true in your organization, but maybe something to think about. Would you recommend certification to a colleague? 95% people would. And then how soon did you experience benefits from earning a certification? Certainly makes you more mobile, more marketable, maybe getting for advancement. Within the first month, 32%, 6 months, 30%. So mostly in the first 6 months, there's advantages. So with that, we will go to Q&A, and my chat, I'm sorry to say, still does not work. Let's see if I can find anything. Yeah, you know what I am going to do? Hopefully you can, I am going to, because I don't know if you can see the chat either. They usually have a person on board when when they do these. So I don't have all the host capabilities, and apparently I don't have chat. So I'm going to give you my email. If you have questions, please send me a note. You will get a email also with a copy of this recording. I gotta put Educate 360 there. I'm missing the 360. Yeah, you wouldn't get me then. Educate360.com. I welcome any questions that you have, and I'm sorry I can't hear you either because they didn't turn that on either. So I apologize for the computer glitch as they set this up for me. But in the meantime, love to hear from you. Let me know if you have any questions. You can just say, hey, Susan, I listened to your webinar. I have a question. I will be happy to respond. And I'm so sorry that I can't right now. So with all that, be sure to grab if you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. I'm going to wish you all the best. Happy Friday and good luck on your certification journey. So we'll hopefully see you in class or around somewhere. The IIBA conference is coming up in Phoenix in June. Not that Phoenix is very exciting in June, but maybe I'll see you there. Look us up. We'll have a booth. We'll talk to you later.